Another channeling of Flip, in which he gives further information on the Reptilian conspiracy, and in particular its relation to present-day American politics. Again, we return. At this instance, to answer your question on what you have dubbed the Reptilian conspiracy and in orchestrating it, in particular in what has been since your World War II, the most powerful political and military entity on the planet at present. Specifically, your United States of America. This is a place where conspiracy theory abounds. The reasons for this are many, but understand that the continent as a place that was explored and like a palimpsest written over by another culture is infused with a great deal of unconscious energy lodged in the landscapes and the atrocities there experienced by the newcomers. Now they hide in different cultural codes, but the natural energy of the land they cannot subdue. It eats them up and changes them just as it does in any place on this planet, Mother Gaia. The problems with you humans is you give yourself both too much and too little credit. When you conceive of conspiracies, you think of your betters getting together to subjugate you and harvest the fruits of your labor. However, this subjugation is in itself a labor, and in no place on the planet has it been made so much an art form and a type of systemic craft as in those United States you speak of. And though the man who places his boot on another's neck then must also fear another man placing another boot on his neck. This is the law of hierarchy. We understand it well, and we could advise you how to circumvent it. But for now, we will keep to the question at hand. The question being then, what gave birth to the Reptilian conspiracy? Notice that these reptilian offspring we have been describing, who have lorded it over you in the historical era, and past that, that is to say, in the era since the stone circles, these are not necessarily consciously reptilian, rather matter of factly, it is very often quite it is very often the totally opposite case, that they are very unconscious, and this is what makes you perceive them as distinctly reptilian. This unconsciousness at once has enabled them to achieve a great many things, because they are not concerned with the energy you know as worry. They do not expend their resources on doubting themselves, and by that they are able to achieve a great deal. However, with the energies now forming the situations of this time space, it has become more and more ridiculous to observe how strange reptilian consciousnesses in human bodies are stiffly moving about your corridors of power, totally out of touch with the forces coming in from the cosmos, undoing their world in a few short years. The flailing you see of your political apparatus is exactly that. It is the reptilian energies run amok. It is important that you realize that this is not down to partisan lines. In fact, you may rather say that the proximity to nominal power is proportional with the degree of reptilian unconsciousness present in this one individual. These are not in the mental sense of the word, as you know, stupid people, but they are in the psychological or emotional sense of the word, in the sense of introspective capabilities. These people are very much very stupid, almost idiotic people, living out small imaginations of what human beings are on very grand materialistic scales, through pushing the levers of government and organizational power. We have pointed your direction to this before, but you can notice it on their walks. We would say, if you are unable to discern which people you find trustworthy or not in this arena, you can do it by observing how they move. We are aware that if you are interacting with this communication from the perspective of someone who has been cultivated in a, let us say, a civilized society, you may have a very, very unusual view on how a human body should move and how it could move. We would advise you then, if you want to learn how the natural energy of the planet and of humankind flows through the human body, you would do wise to observe, um, for a great deal, sub-Saharan Africa, many of the more, especially the less urbanized areas where people still hold to traditional ways of life. There they walk sublimely and have a very natural current of energy through their bodies. Also, you can go to certain indigenous societies still present in, for instance, your rainforest areas. These are places where you can learn how to observe how energy more ideally or harmonically travel through the the human body, and then try to observe some of your major politicians. Um, we are to a degree enjoying stirring the pot because we know these are emotional issues, but we would point to both the majority and minority leaders of your different cabinets in Congress, and also we would point to your cabinet members as well as your president and vice president, and we would ask you to observe these people not as people but as animals, and then view how strange these animals have become, how much they are totally apart from normal human behavior or interaction. You may find it is sometimes with many of these like some sort of nervous infection has taken place. There's a sort of stiffness around their upper back and C7s that relates to um, their entire like stiffness of character and style of communication. And by observing this is a trait that is you are unable not to acquire through a life of lying. Whenever whatever you say is intention to manipulate someone else into a false reality of your creation, you yourself will become a prisoner of that reality. And therefore, please notice that this reptilian conspiracy, as you know, is more or less unconscious energy that has run amok and that has found very, very distinct expressions in some of the prominent characters of your society. But this does not mean that they are entirely of a different race. Anyone has reptilian DNA. It simply means that the reptilian qualities of their character uh, has been activated and is drawing upon the negative sides of our energy as a grand spectrum as a grand spectrum race of this universe and many other universes, but this energy is not being balanced through any contact with other sides of the human animal or other sides of your alien DNA. So we wish to say to you, do not fear your leaders and do not fear those you think to hold power over you. The only power they hold is the power they think to hold over you, that you acquiesce in them holding. And so we would simply advise you to spread your wings. We know this is a cliche, but exactly therefore, we would advise you to follow it. Find your way back into the cliches of your culture and discover their original meaning and take it back from the foghorn style of lying self-indulgence that has been for so long used to orchestrate this oppressive sense of material energy. Freedom, true freedom, is again heading your way, and it is within you, and you are free to find it out. And this we ask and offer you to do. Our freedom and power is there for you to call upon, as well as those you wish to combat. The dragons are awakening along with humankind, and we will see a better world rise from the old one burning to the ground. May you be well and strong, humans. Power, honor, strength, love.